Hello everyone, welcome back to Anonymous World. Hope you all are doing well. So today is day 16 of Advent of Cyber 4. So let's see what we have in day 16. So day 16 is secure coding. SQLize the king, the carolers sing. So set to have all their apps secured, the elves turn towards the one Santa uses to manage the present deliveries for Christmas. Skiddy asked Elf Exploit and Elf Admin to assist you in clearing the application from SQL injections. So we used to have an Elf McCode, but he founded a startup and he helps us no more, said admin. So after a bit of talk, it was decided the elves returned carrying a pointy hat and appointed you as the Elf McCode. Congratulations on your promotion. So first step is deploying the virtual machine. So let's deploy our virtual machine. To access the contents in the machine, you will only need your browser. You won't need the tag box or VPN for this one. Okay, that's great. Now there is a brief introduction about SQL. So you may go through that. Basics of SQL is given here, like syntax of SQL. So a table is given here. Table name is twice. So select star from twice. So it will dump everything from that particular table. Then you can use fields, column names, select name quantity from twice. So it will only dump name column and quantity table. Name and quantity columns from twice table. Okay, so let's go ahead. Sending SQL queries from PHP. So now that we have understand how a select statement works, let's see how a PHP application builds and sends such a query to MySQL. So first step is always to get a connection to the database from our code, and it is used by using MySQL underscore connect with then parenthesis function. This function receives the IP or name of the database server as a first parameter, which is $server, followed by the username and then password, and finally the name of the schema, which is just an identifier of the database to which we are connecting. Okay, so basics. So a syntax to connecting with the database is given below. An example is given here. So server is DB, username is logistics user, password is some pass123 schema. Okay. So once the connection is made, we can issue SQL queries using the MySQL query function. The first parameter we pass to the function is the connection handler we got before, and the second parameter is a string with our SQL query. So you can see query select star from users where ID is equal to 1. So it will select everything from users column whose ID is equal to 1. Okay, now building dynamic websites. Now here's where things get interesting. If you check Santa's web application, you can access an else profile by using a URL like this. Okay, so let's see. Okay, yeah, we don't need any attack box or VPN. We can directly go to this particular URL. Okay, so it's a toy logistics website. McSkiddy, full stack elf, North Pole. Skills are given here. Then full name and email also is given here, and phone number. It's not disclosed, and latest twice. First one is airplane. Let's see the URL. Okay, so the ID is 2. Let's try to change it to something else. If we change it to 3, we get okay another toy, which is animal farm. Let's try to change it to something else. Okay, so we can so you can see if we change the ID parameter, we also get the different results according to the ID number. The code is select star from users where ID is equal to dot get ID. So it is working kind of like this in the background. The first line builds an SQL query by concatenating get ID variable as part of the where clause. So in PHP, you can access any parameter in the URL as $get name, then followed by name of the parameter within square brackets. So this query will ask the database for all columns of the table users that correspond to the elf with a specific ID. Now SQL injection. So the problem with the method shown before is that it takes untrusted input from the user and concatenates it to an SQL query without any question asked. So it leads to SQL injection. So an attacker can send SQL syntax through one of the various parameters of the app's URL, which might end up being concatenated to some query in backend, potentially changing its intended purpose. So let's see. So if the attacker sends the following through the ID parameter of the URL, let's try this. So let's check ID is equal to -1 or ID is equal to 4. So it's give output of the ID for which is teddy bear. So -1 is a negative number, so it is not a true statement. But after or ID is equal to 4, it is a true statement. So it is returning the result for ID is equal to 4, which means SQL injection does exist here. So if we read the resulting query string, we can see that our where clause was modified to filter only else that either have ID is equal to -1 or ID is equal to 4. Okay. Now, while this example shows a harmless injection, a skilled attacker can try to get your server to run much more complex SQL queries and potentially force the database to return any data on table they want. So another example is given here. Let's try this. So you can see it dumps the username and password. So what happened here? After ID is equal to -1, union a union was used. Union all select null username password. So we know that ID3, ID4 return something. ID3 and 4 is a valid entry in the users table, users column, sorry. So it is giving the entry for username and password in place of ID3 and ID4. Okay, so fixing the app with Elf exploit and Elf admin. So in today's task, we are not exploiting the web interface, but we are trying to secure it. So let's go here, thmlabs.com. Okay, so this is the code editor. So credentials are coder and coder. So now we can save our edits by using Ctrl+S. So in addition to the code editor, you will have access to a chat to communicate with Elf exploit and Elf admin. While they don't speak too much, you can request them to check the application for you. Okay. Hey, I am Elf exploit and I will assist you on looking for existing SQL vulnerabilities. Okay. And I am Elf admin. I will check if the website is working as expected. So we can use run checks command. Okay, let's go ahead. So to ask the else to do a recheck of the app, scroll down to the else tab to find the run checks button. Okay, so we got that. Remember that you can always check the website after any changes by visiting the following link. Now let's get to work. First one is fixing SQLi by data type validation. One of the easiest and most effective ways to prevent SQL injection is to ensure that any data that a user can manipulate that you are concatenating as a part of SQL statement is actually from the type you expect. So in the below query, help exploits would tell you that that he successfully injected some SQL by the parameter of else.php. So first let's go to else.php. Okay, we can see here query is here. Select star from users where ID is equal to get ID. Okay, so the website takes the ID parameter from the URL and then concatenates it to an SQL query as shown before. Okay, so we have already gone through that. So now uh, how to avoid SQL injection here? What we can do? So for this purpose, we can use the int val function. So what this function does that it will take a string and try to convert it into an integer. So it won't allow any string as input here. So like we can't use union all null and any string. It will only accept integers. So if no valid integer is found on the string, it will return 0, which is also an integer. To clarify this, let's look at some values and how they were converted. So interval 1 to 3 is converted to 1 to 3, TryHackMe is converted to 0, and then 1 to TryHackMe is converted to 1 to 3. So putting this to use, we can modify line 4 of elf.php. So what we can do is before dollar we can add int val function. Okay. Also at line 17, I think we need to change this. Select star from toys where creator ID is this. We can change it here too. Control S to save. And then let's try to run check. Okay, that's great. No vulnerability is found. The website is working fine and we got our flag 1. Let's enter our flag 1. Let's get back. Notice that for most data types, we'll be able to make something similar. If we expect to receive a float number, we can use float val instead of int val function. Now, fixing SQLi using prepared statements. There are situations where we need to allow the user to pass arbitrary strings to a parameter. Okay, so a parameter cannot only accept integers in all the websites or all on the platforms. Sometimes it need to accept integers, strings. Every time a search is done, it gets sent to search twice.php via the queue parameter in this particular website. If we ask the Elf to retake the application right now, Elf exploits would have a way to take advantage of a vulnerability in that parameter. If we open search twice.php in our code editor, we can quickly see that a query is built in line 4 and 5. So let's open search twice.php in line 4 and 5. Okay. So query is there, select star from twice where name like ampersand, then get, and okay, there is a queue parameter or description. Okay. Here the queue parameter gets concatenated twice into the same SQL sentence. And you can notice that in both cases the data in queue is wrapped around single quotes, which is how we represent a string in SQL. Now the problem with PHP build the query is that the database has no other option but to trust what is being given. Now if an attacker somehow injects SQL, PHP will blindly concatenate the injected payload into the query string and the database will execute it. So prepared statements are one of the best ways to avoid this. Let's do this like this. Prepared statement allows to separate the syntax of SQL sentence from the actual parameters used on where clause. Instead of building a single string by concatenation, we will first describe the structure of our SQL query, then use placeholders to indicate the position. Then we will bind the parameters to the prepared statement in a separate function call. Okay, so instead of providing a single query SQL query string, we will send any dynamic parameter separately from the query itself. So what we can do, first we will modify our initial query by replacing any parameter with a placeholder indicated with a question mark. Okay, so we can remove this till here, name like question mark, and same for description. Okay, now then we will tell the database we want to run a query that takes two parameters as inputs. The query will then be passed to the MySQL prepare function instead of our usual MySQL query and MySQL query function. Prepare function will not run the query, but it will indicate to the database to prepare the query with the given syntax. So this function will return a prepared statement. So we can use MySQL prepare function. Okay, MySQL prepare, then we are calling dbn query. Let's go ahead. To execute our query, MySQL needs to know the value to put on each placeholder we defined before. Okay, so MySQL must know the values to these placeholders. So we can do that by using MySQL statement bind parameter function to attach variables to each placeholder. So the first parameter should be reference to the prepared statement to which to bind the variables, and the second one is a string composed of one letter per placeholder to be bound, where letter indicates each variable data type. So we want to pass two strings, so we will put double S in the second parameter where each S represents a string type variable. Okay, so we have initialized $q. Then we will use bind parameter function. So it has statement is being called. Then SS tells that two strings are used, $q and $q. Okay. So once we have created a statement and bound the required parameters, we can execute the prepared statement using MySQL statement execute function, which receives the statement as its only parameter. Okay, so finally, when a statement has been executed, we can retrieve the corresponding result set using MySQL statement get result function. As the only parameter, we will assign result set to the twice rs variable is the original code. So now instead of MySQL query db query, this result function can be used. Now let's save this code and let's try to run. Okay, great. No flag 1 is there, flag 2 is here. No vulnerability is found. THM code and okay, so I can inject SQL to force a DB into returning even now well as one of the receivers of an animal farm. So let's check this. Fill profile, so it's animal farm, available 7, ranking score, planned deliveries. So it look like items. So let's check try.php. Okay, so we can see here here also get is used for get is calling id. So either we can use int val function or we can also prepare statements. So let's try with int val. Okay, so control S for save and then run checks. Okay, so flag 1, flag 2. Okay, so one more query is here. I forgot that. Okay, I think that's it. Now we can save this and go for run check. Okay, great. We have our flag free THM. Are we secure yet? Okay, now what is the value of flag 4? So I can bypass the login screen at this IP login.php with SQL injection in the username. So while playing many CTFs or solving other rooms, you may have noticed this solution colon inverted comma then or 1 is equal to 1 to bypass the login panels and get the access. So let's check the login.php page. Okay, so the query is passed here. Select star from username where username is equal to dot username and dot password. So it is not the proper way. What we can do is we can prepare a statement to fix this issue. First, we need to change this, and then question mark. Same with the password. Then we can use our prepare, bind, and execute statements. So, okay, I will just copy this. Control C, Control V. Okay. Okay, so let's change some of the inputs, some of the parameters. So statement ss is okay for two strings. So one will be username, other will be password. execute statement is perfect. Okay, now we need to change the user's rs, so we will be using mysqli statement get results, and we will be calling statement. Now let's save this and do a run check. Flag 1, flag 2, flag 3. Great. So we have secured this login page too. It's thm sqli who. So if you would like more SQLi in your life, you can check out this particular room. It's probably on SQL injection. Yeah. So that's it for day 16. I will see you guys tomorrow in day 17. Till then, keep learning.